want to get a local legal perspective to what has transpired today, and we want to bring on Tupelo attorney Jim Waide. You've been in a lot of courtrooms, you've been in handled a lot of cases. I'm just curious, as somebody here in Mississippi watching this case afar in New York City, from a legal standpoint, what was your take on all this?
Well, the first thing I'd say is all these things are being talked about the trial being unfair and the venue being unfair is absurd. Anytime you have a trial, the venue where the trial is makes a difference. Whether you have a predominantly black area or a predominantly white area, every criminal defendant is aware of that. So for President Trump to say that he's being treated any differently because he's tried by Democrats in New York is absurd. He's right. It's true that the venue has an effect on the verdict, but that's true of every criminal defendant. He's not treated any differently. And it's unfortunate that so many politicians are using this to attack the criminal justice system. Just curious, if Donald Trump was your client, and this has just happened, what's your advice to him between now and the sentencing in July? Well, normally what you would say is don't be insulting the judge, but in this case the judge is not going to be affected by that. New York is terribly different from Mississippi. In Mississippi this would be an automatic prison sentence. If you go to a jury trial in Mississippi, the circuit judges don't ever consider probation. You go to trial and you're sentenced to prison, so he's very fortunate. But whatever he says about the judge, I think the judge is not going to sentence him to prison because of the politics of it. I don't think he'll be sentenced to prison. But if he were in Mississippi, it'd be an automatic prison sentence. In Mississippi, you have a jury trial, you're convicted, you go to jail. One of the things we've heard about the former president is that he's pretty rough on attorneys. Just curious, if you have a client who you can give advice to, who's paying you, but may not listen to your advice, how do you manage that as an attorney? Well, it's very difficult. I've had cases that I know I should have withdrawn when the client wouldn't listen to the advice. And there's really not anything you can do. There's some people that just are beyond control, and I think President Trump was in that category. But the lawyers didn't make the facts. He's the one that hired Michael Cohen in the first place. He's the one that's fooling around with David Pecker. The lawyers didn't do that to him. He did it to himself. So his criticism of the lawyers is just as absurd as his criticism of the justice system. Tupelo attorney Jim Waide, thank you so much for joining us live on WTVA 9 News at 6. Thank you.
Craig, Jim.